You're watching Bear Down Sports, the best Chicago Bears content. Now buckle up and bear down.
Mason Nation, Masonites Unite. However, we're going to start this thing off. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in and bear down as always. Sorry, I changed the time on this one. I set it up originally wrong. So those of you who are tuning in late to this, I apologize for that. We're going to be a quick one here. This is going to be a quick live. I just want to do a couple updates on last minute things that are taking place with the Bears. Number one, let's get it right up here. Let's switch this one over. This is the Bears' proposed plans for the Lakefront Stadium. 2-hour press conference today. For those of you who haven't seen the nuts and bolts of it, we will do a quick breakdown. You see there right behind the museum where the old stadium was, they're going to leave up the pillars from the World's Fair, keep some history to it, and then the rest of that's going to be a huge community area where they can have a lot of activities and events. You see 2 baseball fields there, 2 soccer fields. As you look at that giant picture, I have questions about where tailgating and parking and transportation is going to be, and they didn't really answer that. I watched a lot of that. I didn't watch the entire 2 hours. I watched a lot of the press conference, though, and so I got a lot of questions still. I think a lot of people still have questions, but there's a lot to be excited about with it, namely how much this gives a community feel to the stadium. And you look at the front of the stadium there is a very Allegiant Stadium. I live in Vegas, a very Allegiant Stadium type feel to it. And then I learned that it's the same people who developed the Allegiant Stadium that are creating the Soldier Field. And it is going to be Soldier Field. They're going to keep the same name. They're going to move this stadium. And then once it's all torn down, the pillars are left up and the community and everything, and then they officially start in the new stadium, it will take over Soldier Field in the new stadium. So that'll be pretty cool to keep some history there. Let me go through a couple more of these. There's another picture there. I love that front view, how it's wide open. In Allegiant Stadium, they have a giant torch, the torch history that they have. I love that that's gone. And it's going to leave an open view to the entire city. To me, that's really awesome. You see that right there? So this is renderings, of course. And they make it look real nice. Here's a picture of Allegiant Stadium, so you can see with the speakers and everything. It looks much nicer. Allegiant Stadium always intended to have that so you can see the city of Las Vegas out of it. And with the rendering here of Chicago, that's going to look so cool to open it up to the city of Chicago. And really, every stadium does this. I actually, when I went to Arlington for the Cubs opener, I took a tour with my brother through AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys play. It was fun to see the history of it. And it's really inserted down 25 feet below ground level. And it looks like this would be the same type of concept. I think Allegiant does the same thing. But having that open view to the city would be really cool. 77,000 would be the capacity of it, so it increases a lot from Soldier Field. Kind of expected to be a little bit more, but I love that they leave that open. You could fit more seating up there if you didn't have that view of the city, but it would be really cool. And it does bring a lot to Chicago, namely this. This is a big thing they want to do with it. They want to attract a lot of events. So Final Four, stadiums and concerts. They didn't have a rendering for for soccer, for a World Cup and stuff like that, but it could attract anything. And then on the outside as well, having open to the museum district, be able to have farmers markets and things like that on the outside. There's a lot to like about this stadium. And guys, I see everyone commenting in other threads. I haven't looked at our comments here. Be excited about this. There's ways to make it happen. Vegas is like the ideal making it happen without hitting the taxpayers. Now, the new baseball stadium, I have a lot to complain about because they are hitting my homeowner's tax. But their proposal is on a hotel tax. Now, I don't understand all the nuts and bolts of it, but if they do it properly, they can make it work. And I know that Chicago is going to become the second airport to have gaming inside of their airports, be able to cut some costs back and be able to develop some revenue from that. They're only the second one. Vegas has it now, and Chicago is going to have it soon. So there's options. I don't know all the details. I'm not going to profess to know how the entire $2.3 billion stadium is going to be taken care of. But there's ways for them to do it, and there's positives that come with this. So many positives. So I know I don't live in Chicago, so I don't have really a place to give a full aspect of that. but I would be excited. I'm excited as a Bears fan, and there's so much they're going to attract to it with it. So let me get rid of that. The other big thing from today was, we'll bring this up. I'm going to play a clip from this. This is from the Chicago Bears with Jeff Joniak. It's a hour and a half long, or roughly there. But talking about, and they had Ian Cunningham on, and there's a short blurb that he had about the draft that I want to bring up here. Because as most of you know by now, I did a little short on it. It's been circulating around. Ian Cunningham did sign his contract extension. And no, it's not like players' extensions where players can't have an out. Ian Cunningham's not stuck here. It really gives him leverage negotiation next year. And as long as he wants to be a Chicago Bear, he's going to be a Chicago Bear. Excuse me. So Ian Cunningham has proven himself. If you watched he and Ryan Poles yesterday in their little pre-draft presser, they're like best friends, and they both respect and appreciate each other. They both know that together they're a strong tandem. So I'm a fan as long as he stays here to be able to keep him. And we know, of course, if he does go somewhere else, that we're going to get the Rooney Rule, the minority exception. If he's hired away, that we get 2 third-round compensation picks. So that always going to end up somewhere in the 95 to 103-ish range for comp picks. That we'll be able to get that for him leaving and going somewhere else. So there's pluses both ways, but he's definitely an advantage being here. He's Ryan Poles' right-hand man. He's right in there with everything. Before I get to the sound clip, let me just look at some of the comments. I am doing this on my own. Traffic, the blonde COO mentioned traffic and flow. Yeah, I didn't catch everything there, but I don't think they had all the answers yet. They have some things that they project, but I don't know if it's all answered yet. There's definitely not a place to tailgate. I can see that from the renderings. New stadium proposal looks amazing. Someone's here in Nevada, College of Southern Nevada right now, but the stadium looks amazing. Yeah, Allegiant Stadium is really world class. It's pretty cool. But that's what Chicago is going to be coming into. You see that? That is going to be world class. It's going to attract everything in Chicago, of course, being the 3rd biggest city in America. I mean, it's time. It's time for Chicago to catch up to world class and be able to have opportunities that they need. Looks around 60,000. They actually announced it's going to hold 77,000. Stadium looks crazy. I love the look of it. I really love that they left that side open to be able to see the entire city. I love the way that looks. Yeah, and this is what I'm seeing too. A lot of Chicago media being negative over the stadium. I think because Chicago is such an in-debt city and it's not financed and handling that well, there's a lot of negativity. Let's just see how it pans out. All right, so let's talk some draft. I'm going to play right now from Ian Cunningham. It's about 2 minutes. I'm just going to play it. I'm going to go ahead and play it so you guys can hear it. But this is something I caught from it. Listen up.
At number 9, are you always formulating and thinking about, oftentimes we say, okay, especially you have 2 first-round picks, but even if you have a first and a second, it's a high, you're trying to pair up something that, these are going to be 2 guys who are going to be day 1 starters. That's kind of the plan, right? You want all your guys to compete for a starting job, but you feel really good in the position that you are going to have choices.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. We feel that right now, but I feel like with all this, that's why we put ourselves through worst case scenarios, through all the simulations, through all the mocks that we do, to say, what if, right? What would we do in this situation? What if you're stuck and you can't trade back? Who do you take? Would you trade up for this prospect? Would you trade back for this or would you trade back with this offer? Depending upon how many guys are on the board at the time. So you try to put yourself through all those scenarios, in the event that one of those ends up happening on Thursday night. So we feel prepared. We're looking forward to it, but that's the fun of the draft is we've got to wait till Thursday.
Have you had calls for 1 and 9 throughout this whole process?
Honestly, we'll start those conversations here right after I get done with you, and we'll get to asking some teams and just kind of getting a pulse of the landscape.
Last question. Every draft has its own character and its own style to it, I guess. In a few words, how would you encompass what this draft is all about?
Ooh, great question. Gosh. Oh, I think it's really talented at the top. I think the premium positions are a lot of really talented players. I think there's going to be a lot of, I would say that I have a feeling there's going to be some movement in this draft. I really
Not
do.
just first
Not
year,
just first,
throughout the draft.
Throughout the draft. I just have a feeling there's going to be more action. Just because of the talent level at different positions, the talent level at the top, the talent level in the mid, a little bit of the volume or lack thereof in the middle to late rounds. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Just like.
All right. Did you guys catch a couple things in there? I'm gonna explain what I caught. So first of all, he said we go through those mocks, we go through our scenarios because what happens if we get there and we can't trade back? I don't think that was intentional that he let that slip. He says what happens if we get there and there's not someone that's willing to trade back with us? Who would we take? So I think they fully intend to trade back from 9. I think that is absolutely the plan on the card. That's what they want to do. But he said right there, this is what you do. We do those contingencies. We do the prepping. We do the mock drafts so that we can be prepared if someone doesn't want to trade up with us. I mean, that was how much more do you need? I think right now, as it stands, all of us want Rome Odunze. And if you guys didn't see Rome and Caleb Williams both at the airport, they were both flying on the same flight. They took pictures together. I had that in the live video yesterday. So many fans are excited, but right after that, you see that he was throwing. Caleb Williams was actually throwing with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze. So, I mean, Ryan Poles probably didn't set that up. I don't know who would have set it up, but it's more verification of getting those guys together, seeing how they feel about each other. And I just don't know if Rome Odunze would be there at 9. And of course, it's lying season, so they're not going to give their entire hand away, but I don't think he intended to say what happens if someone isn't willing to trade back with us, isn't willing to trade up, and we're willing to trade back. Who would we take? So who knows? Nobody knows right now. It's all rumors. It's all lying season. I just don't think that was lying season. Then the other big thing he mentioned at the end of it was there's going to be a lot of trading, not just in the first round. And I see it the same way. If this is going to be a draft where rounds 1, 2, and 3, there's going to be a ton of trades up, trades back, extracting value, going to get the guy that you need, because as we know, a lot of underclassmen staying in school with the NIL deals coming out and everything, there's going to be a little bit more value at the top of the draft, which is why as Bears fans, we need to start realizing only having 1, 9, 75, and 122 is not the worst case scenario in this draft. Yeah, we might have had 7 picks, but those 5th, 6th, 7th round picks very well could have been guys that didn't even make the squad, that would be like undrafted free agents that end up getting cut or end up going to the practice squad. So having these 4 picks, so imagine if everyone only had 4 rounds of picks and we have 1 and 9, we're in a very, very, very good situation. So, all right, let's look at a couple comments. This was intended, as I put on the description, intended to only be 15, 20 minutes. Let's just see if anybody else has said anything. And then we're going to wrap it up. The main things today were the stadium, discussing the stadium, discussing Ian Cunningham, how he got his contract extension and how that doesn't tie him in and lock him to the Bears. It really gives him leverage next year. It's like a normal job. If I have a job and I have a contract with an employer, I can go sign somewhere else. So in the NFL, it's not tied to things like that. It is for the players, but not for managers. Let's see. Ian Cunningham is the guy that's responsible for Philly signing TJ Edwards as an undrafted free agent. TJ Edwards praised him for helping him through the process. Ian has also done the same with Sanborn. Agree with that. All right. Do you think they're discussing traded Herbert to grab a second? I don't think Herbert's on the trading block, to be honest. I see a lot of fans rumoring that because we're trying to figure out who we could trade. There's always some players traded every draft. Some big name goes. And really, I can see Brandon Ayuk. I can see even Herbert, not our Herbert, but Justin Herbert being traded. I really don't see that happening either with his salary cap. But there's going to be a big name that gets traded. So, and then it also sounds like they aren't likely to trade down for picks outside the 4th round. I agree with that. If anything, you're going to be looking for undrafted free agents after that 4th and final pick is taken. Right there. Bearlissimo says Herbert and Borum are on the trading block. I don't know if you have an insider scoop there, but it's possible. I don't think Larry Borum is even tradable. Ja'Tyre Carter either. I don't think he's tradable. But if they can trade one of those guys for a 6th, 7th rounder, I wouldn't complain. But at the same time, well, Herbert would be a 4th or higher rounder, maybe even 3rd rounder, but I don't think he's on the trading block. There's a great comment. How about Velus for an 8th rounder? Guys, I love Velus, and especially with the new kickoff rules, with the UFL style kickoffs. I don't want Velus to go anywhere. I want him to have a shot with those kickoffs. I think he's going to be very valuable. So, all right, guys, that's going to be it for us. We're going to wrap it up. I just wanted to do it live today instead of putting a video together for you guys. I wanted to be able to come on here and just talk a couple of those things. The biggest thing, though, was this one with Ian Cunningham and the comments that he made. If you haven't listened to that on the Bears site with Jeff Joniak interviewing him, that little minute clip here, I'll give you where the minutes were in that. It was from 44:52 to 47:10 in that video, 44:52 to 47:10, where you really hear some gold from Ian Cunningham talking about how they do their mock draft simulators, how they prepare if someone isn't willing to trade up with them, if they're not willing to allow the Bears to trade back, who would we take anyways? That's huge to me. I really, that to me was my pocket of gold today. That's what I really extracted from that and liked. So let's see. I just got to pull this. Any chance the Bears have kept everything under wraps and trade back from one last minute? No. And guys, I was the guy who wanted the haul. I'm the guy who wanted us to keep Justin Fields and get the generational haul for it. But at this point, with everything you've seen, even the interviews yesterday where they talked about Caleb Williams, the verification, getting him in with other players, at this point, it's a done deal. If there's ever a number 1 pick that I can guarantee is going to happen, it's going to be Caleb Williams to the Bears. So with that, guys, we are going to wrap it up. Short one today, but as you know, we are on tomorrow live for the draft. It's going to be an hour before the draft starts. So 6 o'clock Central Time. We are going to have a couple special guests. Shorty from the Bears Country podcast. Samo, I can now say, has agreed to come on. If you haven't seen him, he's been on a lot of stuff with Swift